Taylor Swift showed up to the Chiefs-Bills playoff game in Buffalo yesterday. Taylor was actually booed by Bills fans going into the stadium, but don't worry, she then blew one of them a kiss. Travis later scored a touchdown and then made Taylor's signature heart with his hands. That's so cute. Taylor was also seen cheering in the suite with her bestie, Brittany Mahomes, but all eyes were on Travis's brother, Jason, who took off his shirt to celebrate with the crowd. At one point, he jumped into the stands and started high-fiving fans, even though some of them were booing him. He also held up this young fan so she could see Taylor and took pictures with other people in the crowd. All right, so did Jason, is that his name, Jason?
Jason, yeah.
Did he upstage Taylor?
No, listen, Jason, I don't want to be in the dark here, but if you remember last year's Super Bowl, he's Travis's brother, right? He recently retired, which isn't 100% official, so he's kind of just blowing some steam. I'm watching my brother. Now I'm a fan. I'm one of you guys now. My football career might be done, and I just want to have fun. I want to cheer on my brother, and, you know, I put in so many years of work. Football's a hard sport, and you put in work year-round to become the level of player Jason Kelce is, and he's one of the best to ever play the position. So blow off some steam, have a good time.
Right, yeah.
There's people sneezing all over.
Yeah. I do. I thought someone sneezed.
I will say this, Jeff. I do think he's blowing off steam, but I think it's kind of deeper than that, man.
Yeah?
A little bit. I think the acting out copy, when you get so drunk where your shirt is off, like your kids are probably there in that VIP suite. Your father-in-law is there. When you're getting this drunk and jumping into the stands, I think you're going through something. If I had retired from DBL and tried to go, I would be going through it. Like, knowing that you guys were still doing it.
But he's like 30-something, right? Yeah. Early 30s?
And he's got to figure out the rest of his life. Yes. All he's known is being a football player up until allegedly
but
this week.
But it's not like you're at an award show. You're at a football game. Everyone's drunk, you know? I don't know.
Isn't he known for being playful?
Yeah.
I think it's different.
I think, Al, I understand what you're saying. I have gone through the post-retirement era a couple times when it comes to athletes, so I do understand it. I think it's a little early for this stage of grief to be concerned. Like, I understand what you're saying.
I think this would be the time. You're watching your brother play the game.
It's super early. It's been like a week. How long has it been? Like, it's only been a week.
Right.
So I think that this is a time where you're like, oh, I want to do some things, especially because they have been a part of this whole craziness with Taylor Swift and everything. They've been benefiting from it. He has an opportunity to go and support his brother and, like, act goofy, do something that he doesn't normally do. It's been a week. I'm not concerned that this man needs to go to rehab or that he's going through his stages of grief. I think it's a little early to be concerned that he has a problem.
No one's saying that he has a problem. I'm just saying I think a lot of people will be having an existential crisis of who am I right now? For your whole life, you have been this world-class football player. Your brother is a world-class football player. Your mom has chunky soup commercials. And now after this season, you're just going to be that dude that I think used to play for a team.
No,
and
it's a
big
he's not. He set himself up.
Like, no, but he's got a podcast that's very successful that his brother on, and they're grooming him to be an announcer too. Right. So it's not over. I think he's ready to start his next chapter. Absolutely.
On a lighter note, Sophie's first football game she watched last night just to see
Jason Kelce.
Just to see Taylor Swift. We would pause it, and then this morning we walked to school with her little friend who's a Bills fan. I don't know why everyone's a Bills fan, like in your neighborhood, in my neighborhood.
Are Bills fans.
Yeah, and he was so disappointed that the Bills lost, her little friend, and Sophie was like, well, Taylor Swift's team won. Taylor Swift's team.
That's how ESPN announces them. Taylor Swift's team coming up next.
Real quick, I think we do air in New York, right? Buffalo Love.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
But there's I'm going to break some hearts out there. There was this kicker, Scott Norwide, where he famously Norwide, because he kicked it wide. Sorry, Bills fans. And they didn't, they lost the Super Bowl 3 years in a row, I believe. And this kicker at the end of the game missed the kick wide to not put it into overtime.
That's why everyone was so devastated.
That's what I thought about.
Oof,
Yeah.
Sorry, Bills fans. I'm a Bears fan, so relax. Yeah.
Speaking of taking your shirt off, comedian Natasha Leggero did just that at a recent comedy show in LA. So TMZ posted this video showing Natasha following a comedian at the Hollywood Improv who ripped off his shirt during his set. So Natasha decided to try it too. Here's how it went down. So you hear Bert Kreischer, who we both know, you know really well, laughing in the background. He's known to take off his shirt. As a comic, what would you have thought if you saw that? And do you think that this will help Natasha or backfire?
Honestly, my first thought when I saw that, I was like, how are you going to do the rest of your set? And it's where my mind goes, you know? I'm like, oh, I don't care if you take your shirt off. My thing is just like, oh, if you got to do 10, you've really already set the bar. So I read the article, she put that kind of boa jacket that she threw into the audience initially, she put that back on just over just bare skin and did the rest of her act, which makes sense. And apparently, and she's a great writer. She's written for television. She's a great stand-up on her own, so she can kind of come back from that moment. But, you know, I looked at it as art. You know, Bert has been known to take his shirt off, and he really makes it tough to follow because Bert will chug 4 beers and bring somebody in from the audience, make them take their shirt off, make them chug a beer, and then now you got to go up after that. So she went after, and I feel like maintained that energy, and then I'm sure gathered the room and did her set. So shout out to her. It was well done. Erica?
I think it's great. That takes a lot of confidence.
No,
I know. I'm like, what do I say after else? I mean, I'm
wondering, as an audience member, you guys both go to a lot of stand-up shows.
I would have laughed. I wouldn't have been like,
right.
oh gosh, what's happening? Right. I would have thought it was one very brave. Mm-hmm. We talk about bravery. Is it brave to go out with makeup? I would go out with makeup, but I'm not going to get on this platform and take my shirt off. Those are two totally different braveries.
And she's funny enough where it works, right?
Yeah.
Like she didn't need to do it, but she is that funny where it's just like, I'm just, you know, I don't know. It worked. Like
she was in on the shtick. I think it was great.
Exactly.
Okay, so singer Elle King is getting roasted after she admitted she was drunk on stage at the Grand Ole Opry at a show that was honoring Dolly Parton's 78th birthday. Now, at one point, she forgot the lyrics to Dolly's song that she was supposed to pay tribute to, "Marry Me." Watch.
You bought tickets for this? You ain't getting your money back. I'll tell you one thing that's true.
I don't want it.
Good, because you ain't getting it.
After fans complained online, the Grand Ole Opry responded saying, quote, "We deeply regret and apologize for the language that was used during last night's performance." Ooh, I've had a whole 180 on this one. So earlier when I watched it, I thought, you know, definitely tacky. But at the same time, I didn't realize it was specifically a Dolly Parton tribute. You don't do Dolly that way. If you're going to be asked to sing a Dolly Parton song to honor her 78th birthday, you put in the work. I'm sorry. Number two, even though it was at like 10 o'clock at night, a lot of kids were there because it was at the Grand Ole Opry, because the Grand Ole Opry already has a precedence of not doing anything obscene. They're very vanilla, so to speak. So people will bring their kids there, especially if their whole family are Dolly Parton fans. So a lot of kids were in that audience. I just think not only is it a big fail, but I think it's you have to be aware of, you know this more than anyone as a comic, you have to be aware of who is in the audience.
I really appreciate you talking about the kids, but you know what I was thinking about as we were looking at that clip? I wasn't looking at Elle. I was looking at her backup singer. If we go back and look at her just staring, looking at her, and she's like, that backup singer is a hell of a singer herself, and she worked hard to get on that stage, and legends have been on that stage, and to disrespect that stage and the names that have come before you, I mean, it would be a who's who of names. It'd be like going to the Apollo and doing that, or going to Carnegie Hall. There's got to be a level of respect, and somebody needs to pull Elle aside and be like, hey, it's not cute anymore. It's a conversation I had to have with myself. Oh, Al's just drunk. At some point, it's not cute anymore.
I just have to provide more
needs to let her know
context because she supposedly opened up about this a year ago because she's been drunk on stage before. She claims she drinks because she gets so hyper nervous.
Well, she can't perform until she gets that under control.
I just wanted to say
That's
she doesn't do it to be
though.
cute. She does it because apparently she's fearful of being on stage.
Yeah, well, this is just completely not even inside baseball, but when my husband and I were on vacation, she was performing at the resort that we were staying at.
Did you go see?
No, but you could hear it like throughout the resort. So we weren't in the actual thing, and you know, X's and O's, hey. But when they said like, oh, Elle King's performing, my husband was like, who is this? Like the King? And I'm like, no, it's Elle King. So I Googled it, and apparently just a few days before, the first thing that popped up was a TikTok of her being super drunk on stage at another performance. But at the time, I was kind of like what you were thinking earlier, like the venue and all of that. It was kind of like, all right, you know, late night.
Right.
And my husband made a joke like, oh, you could tell her about how you got fired for being drunk on stage.
Or rock stars do it all the time.
Yeah, and I was like, yeah, we got to find her. We'll make her feel better because my story is really great. And but now I'm like, ooh.
Yeah.
Back to back.
Right. And they closed the curtain on
Yeah.
her. They
Oof.
closed it like the hook.
Not the hook.
I know.
In comedy, they turn your mic off, which is a
Hopefully
it's a bad
she'll
one.
learn moving forward.